I avoid rebounding after I get into shape? I always lose a few pounds and gain it back straight away. I'm fed up.
Yeah, so this is not the first time I heard this question. So how do you avoid the rebound? So I think there's typically the biggest reasons I see for rebounding are, number one, not realizing that when you get into the shape of your life, it's not the end. Because it's just, that's why we call it a checkpoint, because it is a checkpoint in your journey. The second thing is not having a plan for what comes after, i.e. what we have, the consolidation phase. And the third thing is, third reason why people fall off is dropping all their accountability mechanisms. So for example, in 2014, the story I always tell, I gained 7 kilos in 7 days and I gained 13 kilos in 6 weeks. What did I do wrong? I had a coach at the time. I stopped checking in. I stopped taking pictures. I stopped weighing myself, except on those milestones, which I remembered. Because someone said to me, have you weighed yourself? I was like, nah, I think I'm just building loads of muscle. Obviously, I had no idea, completely ignorant. Stopped weighing myself. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have an idea, didn't have a clue what to do afterwards. So those 4 things combined led to an absolute disaster. So if you're dieting, you're losing weight, you're gaining back, you're losing weight, the first thing to do is have a proper consolidation plan. So we have a consolidation phase at RNT, which is phase 3, which comes straight after the process phase where you get into the shape of your life. And in that phase, the goal is to effectively regain control of your satiety, your mood, your energy, etc. Avoid any rebound. Bring your calories back to a good amount, which is not going to be that much higher for most people. Reduce the activity, but generally just feel better. Those are like sort of the X's and O's of how consolidation happens. But I think the keys here are accepting that you're going to gain a little bit of weight. That's okay. Like your shape of your life is not going to be the same as shape for life. That's the first thing to accept. The second thing is to keep your accountability mechanisms. So if you're using a coach or you're working with us, keep checking in, keep tracking daily, keep by tracking on the platform daily, keep taking your pictures. All these things are going to help you stay on track. And then the third thing really is realizing now this is where the hard work begins. Getting in shape is easy, staying in shape is a whole different ballgame. And what you got to do now is you got to start rewiring your behavior, mindset, and identity. And now we're talking more long-term investment phase. But the reason why people yo-yo, they lose weight, they gain it back, lose weight, gain it back, is because when you lose weight and you go from, say, 60 kilos to 40 kilos, as an example, when you lose that 20 kilos, you might have lost 20 kilos and you're now 40 kilos, but your brain and your actions and your identity is still wrapped up as a 60 kilo person. Because all you've done is a temporary physical change. Now you need to make a permanent mindset, identity, and behavioral change, and change the way you think. So you act, eat, move like a 40 kilo person, not like a 60 kilo person. So when you go back into social occasions without a prize, you don't have this big prize anymore of a photo shoot or a holiday or a wedding or whatever it may be. You don't just revert back to your old behaviors of having 10 pints or a bottle of wine or whatever it may be. You actually have to consciously change the way you approach things. I'd say the other reason why people struggle in consolidation and with constant rebound is from a mindset and mental health perspective. Many of the reasons why people gain weight uncontrollably in the first place is because of some underlying muck or underlying issues that they're using food as a crutch to help solve. Now, when you typically start a journey, you've probably gone through this whole period of whatever the muck is. You gain weight out of control. You now start. You lose the weight, but you've got this prize to work towards, which is your checkpoint. You get into the best shape of your life just by eating less and moving more. And then you haven't really resolved any of these issues. You've become more aware of them because you're aware of like the way you act in different scenarios. You've lost the weight. You haven't dealt with any of these issues. Now that you haven't got this prize, you haven't got this accountability around staying in shape, you just revert slowly back to where you were. And we call it the death by 1,000 cuts. And this is the point where instead of using food as a crutch that you may have used to, instead of binging in front of the TV, all these things that you can do when you haven't quite dealt with whatever's underneath, you have to sit with those feelings, solve them, and move forward from it, because if you don't solve whatever was causing you to use food as a crutch in the first place, you're just going to revert back to the beginning. There's multi like layers to this. There's the very much like technical aspect, and then there's the deeper layers, which is why most people are rebounding all the time. Anytime you see someone uncontrollably lose or gain weight, there's probably something going on in their head more than anything. If it's done in control, there's obviously a different scenario, like muscle building done in control, fat loss done in control. But when it's out of control, then it's usually some sort of crutch that's developed because of some sort of issue.
That makes sense.
Break that and you break the cycle.